Okay, so thanks again, Emily, for coming to do this interview with me. I think a resource that the library offers that most students are surprised to hear is offered.
Free printing. So it's actually not a library resource. We have a printer in the library in Los Angeles. I think all the libraries except Anaheim have printers in the library, and they simply use their ID and they create a little account, and every time they want to print or copy, they can just do that. And they all come from institutions where you had to pay for printing, and they're just thrilled. They don't have to pay for printing.
Wow, that's really awesome. Do they have like a set amount of pages for that free printing?
No, it's completely free.
Wow.
Test kits. So for the 3 clinical programs, the clinical PsyD, ACP, and the forensic clinical, they use test kits. And I would say that that is what we do most, is check out and check in all of those test kits and provide them with their forms. And I give them access to the online testing platform called Q Global. And so at the beginning of each semester, I spend a tremendous amount of time entering the students into Q Global and trying to help them whenever they have any problems and, oh, I didn't get the email. So there's a lot of troubleshooting. So, but that's for those 3 programs. I would say that, we buy a copy of every textbook that's required. If it's available as an ebook, we buy it as an ebook. If it's not available as an ebook, we buy it in print and we put it behind the circulation desk, and the students can check it out for 3 hours to be used in the library only. I think that it's a service to our students. So because as expensive as graduate school, especially a private school, is to the students, if there's anything I can do to help, I'm happy to do that. And one of those is to make their textbooks available to them so that they don't have to buy them. Wow. And of course, the ebooks are great because then, everybody has access to them. And so if I buy them for Los Angeles, a student in Chicago has access to the same one. Everybody in the class can be using it at the same time. So if a student is using one of the print books and, it's a break and all 12 students want to read it, well, only one person can check it out. If it's on an academic ebook platform, every student in the class can be reading it at the same time, anywhere, anytime. They need to read it at 10 o'clock at night. We're not open and they have access to it. So I think that's highly used. And the third one, I know you only asked me for one, but the third one is the applied behavioral analysis journals will only give us up to the last 12 months. So we don't have the last 12 months of those journals. I have a theory about why they do that, but it is not to our students' advantage. And so we do a lot of interlibrary loan for our ABA students because they need to get the most recent articles. There is no limit to the number of interlibrary loan requests, and there's no cost to our students. So we have about 2,000 print books just in our main stacks, and I would say they don't get used. They rarely get used because honestly, graduate students don't use print very much. They don't use books very much except for their textbooks. By the time the literature makes it into a book, most of the time it's already old or tertiary. And so when I work with students, I know they're not interested in books. They just want articles and dissertations. And so even though we have a nice collection of about 2,000 print books, we have 300,000 ebooks, we don't check out a lot of books from our main stacks. And the other thing is we have FAQs. And so, of course, I always tell the students the most important thing to remember is that we're here to help you. And there's lots of ways to get help. So we have chat, we have a question platform where they can submit their question and one of the 5 librarians will answer it within 24 hours. They can set up a research consultation with me. And I like to remind them we have FAQs and maybe your question is already answered there. what I need to know is, what's your topic? I ask 3 questions. What's your topic? Have you found any good keywords? And where have you looked so far? And I prepare for that research consultation beforehand. If it takes me 15 minutes or it takes me an hour and a half, it doesn't matter. I look for the databases that work, the ones that don't, what are the good keywords, and how to structure their search so that our time together is very productive. So the best thing they can do is to tell me everything they possibly know about their topic. So it's not knowing how to structure a search. I think our students are very familiar with Google, and they just kind of create a Google, and our databases are structured using Boolean operators. And so they need to think in terms of all of my synonyms for each of my subjects, and then using those Boolean operators to create their search strategy. They don't really know how to get started. They start on Google and they don't get any research materials. This happens a lot. Well, there's just nothing out there. Well, Google is not the place to start. Maybe Google Scholar, but then they get 3 million hits and don't know what to do with it, and I wouldn't either. The best thing is to come to the library website and use either the search on our homepage, which we call OneSearch, and then to do a deep dive into the databases. It's just getting started, and especially on Google, I think is a big mistake. So like I said, there is that home page search box, and I always suggest that our students do an advanced search so that they can structure their search using those Boolean operators. But then they need to, especially when they get into a dissertation, they need to go to the subject databases. So one of the most important, obviously, is PsycInfo, put out by APA, all psych all the time. Every student should be doing a PsycInfo search. The student I helped today, we went to Medline, which is the most important medical database, because there was a lot of information on her topic. Anything on children, I would go to an education database. We have a database just on PTSD. And so I think it's really helpful, besides the general databases, to get into those subject databases. And each database indexes different journals. So why would I go to an education database if I've already done PsycInfo? Because they're going to index education databases that PsycInfo might not, and it might be really useful because they hadn't. And I have 2 more. One is, if the students are told to look for quantitative or qualitative, they need to go to PsycInfo. PsycInfo is the only database that allows them to filter by methodology. PsycInfo is probably the most powerful search of all of our databases. And one of those things that they can do is filter by methodology. So for a research methods class, when they're told find a quantitative or a qualitative article, all you have to do is check the box for the methodology you want. I had a student, I don't remember the topic because it doesn't matter, but I do remember that she was using interviews. So she put in her topic and then she checked the box, the methodology box, for interviews. So she found all of the research on her topic that used her methodology. And the last thing is that they have to go through the library to get to our resources. So if they just go to PsycInfo or they just go to ProQuest, they're not going to be able to get in. So the link to the database already has embedded in it the fact that you have access to this because you're a Chicago School student and Chicago School has a subscription. So whether it's a database or it's RefWorks, they have to go through the library because our subscription is embedded in that link. So I think we've talked a little bit about it. The most important thing the students could do is to set up a research consultation. Don't flounder, whether it's just for a paper or it's for your dissertation, contact us. Because I don't want our students struggling to find the literature. That's the easiest part because that's what I'm here to help them do. Ask questions and check the catalog. Don't go to Google, start in the catalog.